Hello, everyone. This is Lisa Sharon Harper, and I am here at The Truth Is, and we are having a kitchen table conversation. And I'm so excited that we are doing this. Yay! I've been literally waiting for this time for actually a few months because we booked this time a few months ago. That's
Yes.
what you have to do when you're working with Roberto Che Espinoza. Hello, somebody. So, Roberto Che Espinoza is a very dear friend who I have been traveling with for, I think, more than a decade now. It's been
Yeah, I
long.
mean, I had just finished my PhD when we got connected.
Yes, that's right. And Roberto Che Espinosa has a PhD in theology and ethics, constructive theology and ethics. And I know there are other big words in that too. Do you want to share the other big words?
No, no, no.
So, constructive theology and ethics. So, we're going to have a deeper conversation today. We're going to get underneath like what's happening in the world, and we're going to ask the questions of the meaning of these things. Why I love my conversations with Roberto so much. Roberto gets underneath the thing and really enlightens us on the meaning or the possible meanings of the things, and even what the process of discovering the meanings can be for us. So, is somebody like ready for some deeper thinking right now? I'm tired of having honestly, I'm having tired of having headlines thrown at me
Yeah.
and having like rage thrown at me online. I'd rather just be able to sit and go deeper. So you guys ready for that conversation today? I thought you were. Thank you. Okay. All right. So Roberto Che Espinosa is the author of Our Collective Becoming, which is on Substack. Also, the author of several books. Let's see if I can find the books here. Oh, I lost the page. Wait, hold on.
Activist theology.
Thank you. Activist Theology and also Body Becoming, a
Yes.
Path to Our Liberation. Yeah. And they're both incredible. Like, again, let's go deep kind of books. And they come out of Roberto's experience as a transgender human.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to be a transgender human? And I met Roberto on the front end of that journey. And now we are talking on the other end of that journey, and so have walked with him, sorry, through that entire journey, and it's been pretty incredible.
And can I just say that you have always been very kind to me and compassionate, and you have been on a journey yourself.
Yes, I have.
And together we have journeyed through some really difficult conversations,
Mhm.
some difficult terrain.
Yes.
How do we get free together? And one of the I don't want to take over
No,
your,
no, you
your
you do
intro here,
you do it.
but you, the ways in which you continue to invite the edges in. You know, there are some of us who are positioned in the world in different places and have different access points. And you historically have always called me in to sit at the table. Even when I had lots of pushbacks and lots of like questions, you continue to invite me to the table. And I think that says something
Mm.
to who you're trying to be in the world that constantly otherizes and dominates people.
Wow. 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 Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. I feel seen. And that's actually one of your gifts is that you see people pretty deeply. So I am excited for this conversation because our world is falling apart. And at the same time, I'm actually feeling more hope
Mm,
for our world than I have this entire year.
mm,
And I think part of that hope is coming from illumination. Actually, there's more light that's being shed. And that's an interesting thing since we are in the season of Advent,
yeah.
which is the season where we wait for the light.
Mhm.
So as I come in, we always start our conversations at the kitchen table with our word. What is our word that characterizes how we're coming into the space?
Mm,
And so my word today is going to be light. It's not light that I feel like woo, like is here, but it's light that I can see. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's going to be my word today is light. What's your word?
Yeah, my word, it's a word that's been bubbling up for me, and I think I'm actually gonna write on this word next year for 52 weeks, uh,
Ooh.
and that word is possibility.
Ooh. We need possibility in our world for 52 weeks. We need to soak in that. That's fabulous. So that's gonna be on your Substack?
Yeah, that's gonna be the Friday care package, because I this year I've been writing on care every Friday, and,
Mhm.
when we finish, I will sit down and write an essay on care, and right
Mhm.
now I'm writing on the gaps of care.
Oh, wow.
And so I think the Friday care package will turn into a 52-week study on the word possibility and
Mhm.
all the synonyms associated with possibility.
See, this is what a PhD can do, right? So, I mean, most people would write one post on possibility and keep it moving, but a PhD goes deep. A PhD literally, like, goes into all the
Well, and I'm not the only one who will have a PhD in this conversation. You are also you see you trying to hide some of your credentials. You are
No.
also working on a PhD with some pretty big heavy hitters, and I have been on the prayer chain praying for you
Oh my
for your PhD. And so what where are you in that process, and how is it, and are you surviving?
Thank you. I need your prayers. I really am actually your prayers have sustained me to this point, let me tell you. It's been a really difficult year. As you know, when there's crisis, it's hard to focus. And I'm the kind of person where, I mean, if I was born a man, um, at the time that I was born in the 60s, I was the late 60s, I probably would have joined the army, when I was a teenager in the 80s. But at
Right.
that point, the world was still very, very patriarchal, and women were very new to the military, and there's no way that I would have done that, and I didn't do that. But I'm very much a fighter, and so when I am experiencing the world around me, it's hard for me not to engage,
Yeah.
push back, and allow my attention to be moved from the PhD focus, right?
Yeah.
Even though I know that I'm doing this PhD so that I will be able to wield that sword
Right.
in about 3 years when I'm finished
Yeah.
uh, 2 years now, when I'm finished my dissertation, God willing, God willing.
Yeah, you'll get it done. Poco a poco.
Thank you. My PhD is in, theoethics, womanist theoethics,
Yeah.
and, yeah, it's constructive, and, I'm excited for it. I'm not gonna say very much more about it because I don't wanna,
Yeah.
let it out there, but I am really excited for it, and I really do appreciate your prayers. Right now, I'm re-engaging. I've already written chapter 1. I'm now journeying into chapter 2. So,
Cool. Cool. Can't wait to read it.
thank you. I can't wait for you to read it. Thank you. So, let's dive in. First of all, you wrote an incredible piece on Advent recently,
Mhm.
and it was talking about, or one of the lines in the piece, um, talked about how, uh there's something that happens in the dark.
Yeah.
There's something that there's life, there's transformation. The dark is liminal space. You didn't use that language, that's language I'm using, but it's that space of transformation. And you did not actually directly connect it to Advent, but I did in my mind when I was reading it. I was like, "Oh, this is Advent." So
Yeah.
I wonder if you can just talk to us a little bit more about this darkness that you were describing in your piece and how you are finding hope, the
Yeah.
hope of that transformational space.
Yeah, I've been, talking a lot about, a recovery of trust in the world. I think that there's no social trust,
Mhm.
and I talk a lot about composting the bullshit. And that happens at night, just like when we think about composting food or composting waste. And I'm thinking a lot about my own life and the ways in which I am deeply compromised by patriarchal violence, how having lived the first part of my life with an abusive parent, and then internalizing that violence as the only way to do conflict.
Mm.
And so I
Wow.
am in real time unraveling from a history of violence. And I was targeted for 6.5 years by the extreme right. And it took a toll on my mental health. And one of the reasons why I'm up in New York, in rural New York, is
Mm.
that I had to flee my home because of the violence. And I'm in exile, unraveling from white Christian supremacy. And I resonate very much with James Baldwin, who, was in exile in France and Turkey watching what's
Mhm.
happening in the United States.
Mhm.
And I feel very much like that is what I'm doing right now. I'm
Mhm.
watching
Mhm. Yeah.
and I'm unraveling.
Mhm.
And if we don't take time to unravel from the very things that compromise us. So for example, I wrote on consumerism, and I have made a commitment not to indulge during this Christmas season
Yeah. Yeah.
and to really think about what are my practices. So when I
Can I just interject very quickly here, because one thing that I really appreciate about you, and it's a rare thing, is that when you write, you're not writing a critique about that, about them. You are very much willing to, and often do, turn that finger inward and ask the question, how is this true of me?
yeah,
And that, like, there is no there's no social transformation ever that can happen ever without that happening for every person who is
right.
getting out there and marching. Every one of us has to do that self interrogation
Yeah.
and honestly confession and repentance.
Yeah, if I've learned anything, it is I am confessing, and in fact, I have one of my oldest friends, he's a priest, and I confess to him because I too am compromised. And I'm not saying I'm like out fighting people, and but it's the way I say things. It's the way I was trained to annihilate people with my words. It's the way that comes up in relationships, in interpersonal relationship, without me even knowing. It's the way in which I only know how to raise my voice in conflict. It's really unraveling from so much bullshit that is around all of us. It's the settler colonial violence on which I am now living, the sediment of settler colonial violence, right? We are swimming in waters that are toxic. We have been fermenting in a social conditioning that has compromised all of us.
Yeah.
Our worship of the all American dollar is number one. The ways in which we dispose of people are number two. Though both of those are violence.
Mhm.
My next book is looking at the violence of caste and the caste of violence.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
And it's reckoning with how do we rehabilitate social trust if we can't trust ourselves to be people of integrity?
Mm. That is so deep. I mean, one of the thoughts that comes to me with this interrogation that you're doing of yourself is that it's not safe.
Yeah,
Like, you are, I mean, it requires, and actually it's funny because I write about this in The Very Good Gospel, um, when it talks about death, right? Shalom and death, and that confession is a form of death. It's the death of pride.
yeah,
It's the death of ego. And I I wonder, like, what is it in you that cultivated this ability and even propensity for you? a transgender person who is targeted
Right.
by on multiple fronts right now, and not only socially but also politically.
Right.
Um, how is it that you have the ability to say, I have internalized the patriarchy that is coming for me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's been an awakening for me over a period of years.
Mhm.
And, I read a quote by one of the authors that I study, Gloria Anzaldúa, and other people have said it in different ways, but she wrote, I changed myself, I changed the world.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
we make the way by walking. I mean, that's one of the things that you and I have done. We have made this way. We trust each other because we had some very hard conversations 10 years ago.
yeah.
And we are able to imagine a possible way in the doing of the work,
Mm,
through conversation, through writing, through going to the same conferences.
mm,
Um, you don't get there without some level of trusting in yourself and trusting in the people around you. You trust the people and they become trustworthy.
mm. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So when you're looking at the world that we are living in right now in this Advent season, and you're asking the question of trust, I mean, there's just so many reasons not to trust right now. I mean, just this morning, right? I'm scrolling on Instagram, on the gram, and I don't know how many. I mean, probably about 5 separate posts where I scrolled through and I saw AI experts telling us not to trust this, that, or the other, and ways to make our scrolling more safe, or our online life more safe. Go into the settings and click this, and just, I mean, so many different platforms are now really not trustworthy, and we have to go in and protect ourselves in living our lives. I mean, in the privacy of our own homes, they're not quite so private anymore, right? So in this world where just on a nominal level, just living, we actually have to be on guard. And then you have targeted, like you have political violence that is happening
Right.
against multiple people groups all the time, like literally 24/7. You wake
Yeah.
up and there's a new headline that happened overnight. Um, how are you holding how are you holding this Advent season? What is coming to the surface for you in this Advent season in that context?
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, I've been writing on Advent every Sunday. I'm doing a 7-week series for the Eastern Orthodox calendar instead of 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I'm writing on that, a decolonial Advent.
Mm,
Um, I am. I don't have any decorations up.
mm,
Today, I will go to the post office and pick up a menorah that I ordered.
mm,
I will place that and I will celebrate Hanukkah with my Jewish friends next week. And then on winter solstice, the Yule, I will honor the rebirth of the sun,
mm, mm. Yeah.
that there is more light coming.
Mm.
And then
Wow.
on Christmas Eve, I will eat tamales, rice, and beans and wake up and celebrate that Christ the King was born. I narrate that to say the way I'm holding Advent is by turning everything into ritual and returning to a slow pace of waiting.
Mm,
Patience is not a virtue, it is a practice, it is a discipline.
mm. Right.
And when we slow down enough to be able to feel what must be felt, the magnitude of what's happening,
Yeah.
only then can we begin to act. We have to feel it first.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's how I'm holding Advent, ritualistically, uh, ceremony, every day is a prayer.
How are you thinking theologically about the beating that our bodies are taking in this
Yeah,
time and that, you know, particular different people groups are taking different kinds of beatings? I personally have been thinking a lot about Black women
yeah,
and the beating that we are taking economically and as a result in our bodies, right? Like when we are economically sound, we have the space to exercise, we have the space to um, just ooze love and care and fun
yeah,
and laughter with our families. Um, we our bodies are able to take in food that is good for it. We can make that choice because usually that food costs a little more,
right,
unless we have our own gardens. That's
right.
another part of that conversation which we can have. But for Black women, I was just reading a Forbes, not a Forbes, a Fortune article um, that was written back just before Thanksgiving. And they have now determined that 600, not 300,000, 600,000 Black women are unemployed since February in America. 600,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything is very expensive, and I live on a fixed income.
Mhm.
And in fact, as part of my monastic community, I will take a vow of poverty. And that's the only way I know how to be anti-capitalist is to um, live a monastic life. So I really survive on the generosity of others.
Mhm.
I cook for the community. I feed the community. Culture happens here at the whole house. People know where to come for a good time.
Mhm.
But I am sustaining myself through the generosity of others. I've spent the past 2 years organizing here, and I've developed, along with other people, the capacity for us to share. So during the summer, people drop off vegetables. In the winter, people drop off venison, and so I actually I have access to really good food
Yeah.
because people are giving it to me.
It's funny because I think that part of the reason why this has been so incredibly painful for Black women, and let me just say, this article is amazing, and I'll link to it in the
Yeah,
post. Um, but the article is amazing because it narrows down who are these 600,000. Like,
yeah,
who are these people? What are these jobs that they've lost? The vast majority of these jobs are professional jobs.
right,
Like these are people who had means. These are people who were working in professional industries and usually toward the top. And this is a people group in the US that is the most educated single people group in America. Like
right.
Black women are the highest educated people group in the United States per capita. And yet we are the ones who have the highest unemployment rate. So the argument of this article was that this is not even systemic. This is a structural
Yeah,
redistribution of
yeah,
access
yes,
that has happened in our society. So this is where I've been living, and I'm living. I mean, I'm actually living this experience. I'm not unemployed, but I'm self-employed, and our contracts went poof because
yeah,
our contracts are mostly dealing with issues of race and equity and blah blah blah.
yeah,
And boom, January, just poof.
yeah.
And so this year for me and for all of my friends and this all of my friends and people I've just recently met, you know, have been leveraging this year really to go inward and to ask those deeper questions.
Well, I mean, let me just say, I have not really recovered after the initial phase of the pandemic. Um, you
Yeah.
know, the speaking circuit, all that has changed. And if you're a gig worker like I am, um, and self-employed, it's not easy. And I'm invested in a different kind of project, not the progressive liberal project of just an incremental win here and there, but a complete redistribution of society so that we know that there's enough to go around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm actually very similar. I mean, I was just talking yesterday with a group of women. Leading Ladies is the name of the group, and it's a global group. And they asked me to talk about leading vision, and so I ended up talking about the transformation that we need to take in America, and not just America, but around the globe, because authoritarianism is growing around the globe. Authoritarian rests on the image of the hierarchy, of the hierarchical ladder, the domination and the desire and perceived need to get to the top in
Yeah,
order to dominate everyone else. And the kind of authoritarianism that we are suffering right now is the kind that the Nazis carried, which is it's actually not just exclusion, it's elimination.
yeah,
It's removal, right? So from the world, let
yeah,
alone from your space, right? So I was sharing with them, we need to move from the story of the hierarchy to the story of the circle,
yeah,
where we come into a circle and we are able to share power, deciding together how we will live together in the world.
yeah,
Um, and the thing is, for us as people of African descent in the United States, particularly African Americans who have been here for 400 years, right?
right,
So um, we largely we've been looking for 246 of those years. We were looking at white folk claim full humanity and full just citizenship, not even full, but just citizenship. And
right,
we were looking at how do we get into that project? How do we become a citizen? How do we become human, seen as human, understood as
right,
human? And so that's what for us this fighting in a civil war was about. And it actually did achieve that to some
right,
degree.
right.
That civil rights movement was, right? So there's to some degree, we have taken in
Yeah,
some of those values that you're talking about that are colonizing, that were actually some of the assumptions of our own oppressors, that there has to be a hierarchy,
right,
that the goal is empire. I mean, how many mega churches do you really need? Like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
that thrive in our community. Um, and so I'm intrigued by this model that you are living, the model of the community.
Yeah,
And it's really Acts. I mean, what you're trying to do really is you're setting up,
yes,
in many ways, the Acts community, the Acts church, and
yes,
where all things are in common.
yes,
We don't we don't do that. Although I have to say, there is more of that happening in the midst of this crisis.
yes. I
So
mean, out of
teach us
necessity.
about that.
Out of necessity, community is going to emerge. And if we don't know how to be in right relationship with ourselves, we're not going to be in right relationship with each other. One of the other ways that I'm holding Advent is daily metanoia. This is a Greek word that both John the Baptist used and Paul. And this word metanoia, I take it as a turning away from hegemonic systems, turning away from dominant systems, turning toward the liberating ways of Christ. And I practice. I'm like, okay, how do I turn away? What does it look like in everything that I do? How I treat people, how I talk to people, what I write, um, everything. A daily metanoia. And when we begin to truly renew our minds by turning away from dominant systems,
Hmm. Wow.
when we really do that,
Mhm.
we have to examine ourselves and the ways those dominant systems show up in everything we do. For example,
Yeah.
how many of us bought a new iPhone this year?
I
You know,
definitely have not. So mine is on the fritz, but go
that's a great example, right? Like, we're so used to getting the new iPhone every year or every 2 years. I used to be on a every 2 year cycle. And this year I said, my phone is working fine.
I know, that's the thing. I mean, it's a little bit on the fritz, but it's actually look, we're doing this right now on my
Yeah.
phone. We're
Yeah.
good. And my phone is about 4 years old right
Yeah.
now. So and people said that could not be done. It's built so that it'll start falling apart after 2 years.
Right.
Lo and behold,
Right.
here it is. It's still here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Daily metanoia.
Daily metanoia. I mean, I have to say there's something profound about this moment. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like we are, because it feels like what you're doing is in many ways you're helping us to set up our souls
Yeah.
to handle the next moment,
Yeah.
which is that moment of change, that moment of transformation that you experienced in your own body as a transgender person.
Right.
Um, Change, right? So it seems like we are poised in the US in particular. We have seen where our path leads us.
Yeah.
We have seen where our laissez-faire capitalism leads.
Right.
It leads to this. It leads to everyone being um, bilked by the government. It
Yeah.
leads to corruption.
Yeah.
It We have seen where the American, and I mean white American, propensity to claim space and claim it as their own, and then to cordon it off only for themselves, talking about Native American indigenous removals all the way to Jim Crow and redlining and all of that, like trying to create pure white space.
Right.
And we've seen where that goes.
Yeah.
That goes to mothers and fathers being separated from their children on the streets,
Yeah.
having their arms broken, and then being hung in jail for doing something that is as egregious as a traffic violation,
Right.
which is to come into our country um, in an undocumented status
Yeah.
without authorization. That is a civil infraction, not a criminal infraction. And yet people have been languishing in jail for months. That's where that leads.
Yeah.
So I think we've seen where it leads. So I don't know. I'm having hope for 2026 because I feel like this is our next year is our time to say out loud where we want to go, not, away from where we've been.
Yeah, I think people are waking up. I
Mhm.
think people are waking up, and, I think people are terrified,
Mm.
and fear is a great motivator, but it shouldn't be everything.
Yeah.
We do need to be balanced in our strong emotions,
Mhm.
and we need to be regulated, and so much of what's happening in the world, disrupts my nervous system. I can't watch the news.
Mhm. Yeah.
I It used to be that people would text me on the anniversary of Charlottesville and send me the news report where my security guy picks me up and rushes me to a different location. And I'm like, I don't need to be reminded of that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I
And
know whenever I see, or used to, when I saw things about Charlottesville, my body would actually start
right.
uncontrollably.
Yeah. I think I think um I think people are coming into an awareness, and we don't know how to live with collapse because we've only been kind of building an upward mobility system. And now that there's a cascading collapse with what I think is cascading violence,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
we need to know how to respond. And so for me, what I'm doing is I'm cooking for people. I'm hosting people here at the house. I'm sitting with people. I'm writing. I am daily trying to make choices that create the world that I want to see. So I celebrate every day that I don't purchase something.
That's that in itself is it's like a small win every day. That actually really is. But I want to go back to something because this hosting, you're bringing people into your home.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to trust them.
Yeah.
You have to trust your neighbors. And we have been conditioned not to trust
Right.
our neighbors. So how teach us, how do we trust our neighbors? How do we do that? And who is it that you're bringing in? Is it like literally your next door neighbors? Or is it a community that you've curated that is kind of all over your town that is coming in? Like, can we get practical here? Because I think we really do need some guidance.
So um it's literally my atheist neighbors that I'm feeding. and I'm learning a lot about the love of God through atheists. My atheist neighbor, who's a scientist and he's uh he's the director of the astronomy lab at the university.
Oh, wow.
He and his partner live next door. They help me with my trash because I can't get it up the hill of my driveway in the winter
Oh,
because
wow.
because of the terrain. They take their snowblower, they create a path for my car to get out of my driveway. We check in on each other. I mean, very practical things. Like we are in service to one another.
Wait, wait. That's huge. Let's just park right there real quick. Because one of the big ways you have built trust with your neighbors is by serving them
Right.
and accepting their service to you,
Yeah. We just show up for each other.
asking for help when you need it from your neighbors.
Now, listen to this. I wrote a Substack one day and I said, "Here at the Whole House, we host people, we cook for people, we cook for the community. Come visit us sometime."
Mm.
So somebody who reads my Substack says, her name is Beth, and she says, um, "I think we're doing the same thing that you're doing. Why don't you come see us?" So I drove 7 hours to rural New Hampshire,
Oh my gosh.
stayed in a camper for 2 or 3 nights
In their camper, or did you drive your camper there?
in their camper,
Wow.
and they hosted me for a weekend, for a long weekend. I preached at her church, and then I've been back. And so I am literally driving to eat with people who read my Substack if they can put me up. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm putting my faith in the people who read what I'm writing.
Mhm.
They invite me, I invite them. Now, of course, there are safety concerns you have to take in,
Yeah,
you have
come
to,
on.
you have to build relationship, right? But this is a very practical way that we can build relationship of just feeding people. We come into the world needing to be fed and we leave the world needing to be fed. We are dependent on our neighbors.
Wow. I mean, one of the things that strikes me the most about this is that we are conditioned in that colonial construct to be self sustaining.
Yes,
And that if you are not self sustaining, you are, you should be ashamed of yourself.
right,
Like you are, in the words of, let's say, Calvin, you may not be elect.
right,
May not be among the elect.
right.
In the words of Adam Smith, you may not be prosperous, or you're not really uh,
Not valuable.
one of the makers. You may be one of the takers. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? That's not that would be Romney, Mitt Romney. But we really have been conditioned, and we might be activists, but still operating out of a baseline belief in that shame. You know,
And
a
that shame
base.
is violent.
It is okay. Talk to us about that. The shame itself
The
is
shame
violent.
itself is violent. Hyper individualism, this white, rugged masculinity and femininity that we are all conditioned in
Mhm.
is violent. It's violent to the image of God, the divinity that rests in us. It kills our soul.
Mm,
So we have got to figure out how to weave together interdependence. And one of the ways I think we can do that is by rehabilitating social trust, having conversations, something that is dialogical. So eating together, having these Substack lives, having coffee together, something that is conversation based,
mhm,
that is human centric, and that is story led. Stories shape us.
mm.
We need to start telling our stories to each other.
Yes, they do. Come on now. Um, I'm just very struck by this because one of the things that you have to do if you're going to do this is you have to embrace in every molecule of your body. Like there has to be a practice, some kind of practical practice that can move this into your body
Yeah.
so that it moves out the crap, the compost
Yep.
that we have been soaking in
Yep.
for our entire lives, like literally from the womb. that says that the American dream, which is self-sustainability, um, that is prosperity. That is quote shalom. That is what God desired. That's what we were created for. That is not what we were created for. Like we have to get in some ways, I guess the image that I have in my mind is violently
Yeah.
holding to the truth that we were created to be connected. We were created for interdependence. And
Yeah.
maybe that's for me the only thing that would help me to move past that shame of not being self-sustaining,
Yeah.
especially in a moment like this. And Black women in particular, again, I go back to that. Black women, we have had our means stripped
Right.
from us. I was talking with, let me just give you an example of how bad it is. Talking with a woman who owned her own business, again, a consulting group around or consulting firm around questions of DEI and race and formation, spiritual formation and all. And you know what she said to me? This is like 3 weeks ago. She said, Lisa, I have given up on my credit score. I don't even think about my credit score anymore.
Yeah.
I am not even thinking it. And she said she used to be like really conscious of it. And I'm not advocating that. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying that it's so bad
Yeah.
that that is where many Black women are at. It's like something's got to give.
Right.
So if we were to renounce the lies that we have taken in of the empire, the same empire that enslaved our ancestors,
Right.
empire that cordoned us off and redlined areas in the area of Jim Crow and also in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Um, that empire, if we were to renounce the lies of that empire and to move into a whole different economy, an economy that is an interdependent
Yeah.
economy,
I mean, that's what
we wouldn't
I
suffer as
that's
much.
what my work in the world is trying to model. We've
Exactly.
got to create networks of trust so that we have networks of care in order to have networks of solidarity. If we do not have networks of trust, we cannot get to networks of care or solidarity.
Wow. Okay, so can you talk to us about how does your experience as a transgender human, a transgender person, inform this this new way of thinking, this way of holding this moment?
Well, I think it's actually rather quite ancient. I go back to the Jewish wisdom of tikkun olam, repair the world,
Mm,
repair yourself, repair
yeah,
the world. I follow a brown Palestinian Jew named Jesus.
come on.
You know, so I'm really looking into Judaism and other wisdom traditions, and every tradition eats together. Every tradition comes together as community. So I'm just trying to practice wisdom and wonder in the same breath. And I don't know that it has anything to do with my transness as much as it has to do with I want to belong
Mm,
and I want to be free.
mm,
And the only way I know how to do that is to weave myself into community.
wow. Wow. Well, I want to offer an opportunity for those who are listening to ask questions that you might have for um, uh, Dr. Roberto Che Espinoza. I want to ask, I want to start by asking a question and then give people an opportunity to write into the chat what your questions are. So as we're waiting for folks to write their questions, I'll ask this one last one. When you look forward to 2026, when you're going to be doing, is it 56 or 52 weeks on hope?
2 weeks of possibility.
52 weeks of possibility, which is I'm so going to be in that. I'm going to be totally reading that all year long. Um, what do you hope that will change in the world when you put those words out there and put possibility out there? What are you hoping that it will change in in those who are reading? Um, and it's not only in those who are reading, because I know you understand this. I've increasingly understood this. Our words are powerful, and that when you put words into the world, they actually take on a life of their own, way beyond us, and really do have the ability to change the world.
Yeah.
So, how are you hoping to change the world through 52 weeks of possibility?
Well, I first hope that I change over those 52 weeks.
Mhm.
And I'm really curious about how those words will shape me so that I can be a better participant in the community that I am in.
Mhm. That's awesome. So, again, write your questions into the chat or thoughts if you have thoughts. Um, can I ask, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I mean, I'm curious about, you know, can you like I'm really curious about your dissertation, and I'm really curious about how your organizing work is shaping, your thought. Can you share with us a little bit about, like, what are you working on for 2026? How is
Mhm.
your academic work influencing some of this public work?
Mhm. Well, this is the this is the conundrum, right? So, for me, part of it is that I've been told, "Don't write about your dissertation, the content of your dissertation, until you actually publish your dissertation."
Right, right,
Right? So, because otherwise people will take it, and next thing you know,
right,
it'll be out there before, and people won't feel a need for it when you actually put it out there.
right.
So I've been holding it pretty close to the chest, and as a result, it's very hard to then do public work right now, which is my calling and my vocation that is associated with that work, right? So I will say I have actually I've taught a course that used some of the material, and then in the doing actually sharpens it a lot. I was so excited for this, and the students were like, "Oh, I see it! Oh my gosh!" Like, it was so great.
Yeah,
It was
nice.
so great. But coming from a womanist space and landing space, or let me say launching space, I'm looking at the power of the arts
Yeah,
as a resource, right?
nice.
I'm looking at the power of the arts as a womanist ethical resource.
Yeah,
And that ironically, some people have the space that I'm taking up has not been taken up before. So it's kind of forging a new path.
great. That's wonderful.
I'm very excited for that. And it's leveraging a space that is very natural to me. I mean, I'm a storyteller, and it's about storytelling, and it's like, yes. So I am I see one thing that I am convinced of as I engage, my body moves through this world. Um, Here's a great example of this. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a very unusual kind of gathering for me. I'm not often in these spaces anymore, but these spaces are forming now. It was a space that was formed, it was brought together, convened by a group that is on the right side of center. And I don't normally go, I'm not in those spaces very much anymore at all. Now in 2025, I'm actually finding that I'm being invited into these spaces,
Oh, wow.
which is, it feels in some ways unsafe for
Yeah,
me. And then in other ways, it feels like kind of disconnected again, like from where I am
yeah,
searching, which is in womanist ethics. And,
right,
like, this is not what they're thinking of at all.
right.
But when I had found myself in the middle of this almost a debate. Um, After the session, one time between the session and dinner, everybody else had left the room except for the people sitting around my table. And I was sitting there talking with a college president. I was like, what? Like a Christian college president. And it's not just any Christian college, like we're talking about a conservative Christian college president. And they were like, what I found was that in my conversation with him, I was drawing from the womanist space, the womanist conversation, in other words, the conversation that starts with our Black women's stories
Yeah.
and asks the question, does your theology work in my body?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, does it work?
Yeah.
Does it make sense in my body,
Right.
in my experience of the world? And of course, what I found was that his theology was absolutely divorced from
Yeah.
anything that was grounded. It's not a grounded theology, right? It's systematic. It's all about thinking about what so and so said, and that person said this, and that person, white man said this, white man said that, white man said so this, so and it's not at all grounded in what was happening in the world. And one of the most illustrative points that I made in that time, and I mean, he was ruffled,
Yeah. Yeah.
was look, let's consider Calvin. Okay. Let's just think about Calvin. He was like, Calvin. Let's consider Calvin. Calvin had some nice thoughts. He had some good thoughts um, for his time in his place.
Yeah.
Like he was actually dealing with real issues on the ground.
He was kind of radical at the time,
He
but
was.
but
He
the way people have used Calvin has distorted his thought and weaponized it, and
and deified it.
yeah.
And that was really what I was getting at. Yes, it has weaponized it, it has distorted it, but it's also deified it.
Yeah.
And what it said is Calvin
Yeah.
is for everybody. Like everything Calvin said is for eternal evermore, everyone. And it is it is Bible. It is not Bible, it is Calvin. And
Right.
it is Calvin for Calvin's time and Calvin's place and Calvin's people, dealing with an actual issue that was going around in Calvin's time and Calvin's place for Calvin's people that
Right.
is applicable many times now, but also is not applicable
Right.
to many people now in this particular space after all of this history. And one of the ways we can see that, even in the time, was that when Calvin was blowing up, when Calvin was like the thing, Calvin grew like he was in Switzerland,
Yeah.
and Switzerland funded the slave trade.
Right.
And yet, at the time that Calvin was blown up, the slave trade rose up, and his theology did nothing, said nothing to stop it. There was nothing stopped it. In
Right.
fact, his people funded it.
Yeah.
So there's something wrong with that.
Well,
There's some
people don't have a historical memory. People don't know the history of these things.
right.
And, in my writings and whatnot, I try to contextualize so much of this stuff, and people just hear something and they buy it, and then you have the John Pipers of the world who, you know, it's very scary how influence works.
Yes, it is. It is, right? So my point there is not that Calvin is bad, it's that Calvin is not God.
Right.
Calvin was a human
Right.
who was speaking into a particular place and space, and I think that our decolonizing work, part of my decolonizing work, was to, um, de-deify Calvin
Yeah.
and to recognize that Calvin was absolutely divorced from he had nothing to do with the context of the actual Bible.
Right.
He was nobody in the Bible was European. Nobody, no speaking, there's one speaking character in the entire Bible that is European, and that's Pilate.
Mm.
That's it. The only European that has a speaking character, a speaking role in the entire Bible. Pilate, the guy who killed Jesus.
Yeah.
Not to say that, but what
Right.
I'm saying is, why then have we created the locus of our theology in Europe? Why
Right.
do they get to determine what it means to connect with God?
Well, I mean, herein lies supremacy culture.
Right. Here, well, why is guns? That's why. Violence.
Yeah.
Violence is why.
Yeah.
Um, so I share that because in that conversation, what I found was that drawing from my experience as a Black woman in my body, contending with the theologies of Calvin in this world, and my ancestors were not helped by, in their bodies, were not helped by his theology. It helped me to communicate with this president of a conservative university that um, that there is more in the world that we must investigate and interrogate.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So in other words, that's why I am in this womanist space, because I really do believe that it is the intersections of our experiences of the world
Yeah.
that need to inform us and have the power now to question and dismantle and rebuild
Yeah.
a worldview that works today toward the flourishing of all.
Yeah. Eh,
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking the question. All right. So, we actually have somebody who has written in. So, Joe Cash, thank you so much for writing in and saying something. Ash says, Amen. Joe Cash says, you say trusting people makes them trustworthy. Make the way by walking it. But I have a trans non binary kid, and neither my family nor my partner's family are affirming.
um,
How do we care for ourselves when we are actively inviting dangerous people into our space? It's hard enough to care for ourselves in the world during these dangerous times. Oh, you have asked a great question, Joe. Thank you so much. All right. What do you think?
well, I I don't think there is social trust in the world. And I think what I am advocating for is some of the hardest work that we are doing. I will also say that there are some people who are not trustworthy,
Mhm.
and that's reality. Um, and I when I say trust the people and they become trustworthy, we have to discern. And we need to become very discerning right now on how we care for ourselves and each other. So I'll be very honest with you. I basically only talk to queer people every day
Mm,
and people of color.
yeah. Okay.
That's how I'm caring for myself. It's voice memos, it's pictures. I mean, I am trying to practice what I preach and nurture connections so that there is trust. That takes a long time. And in a family system where you have people who may not be safe, then we have to make the hard decision on when do we see these people? How do we see these people? Do I protect my family and my trans kid? These are very difficult questions
Mhm.
that you know the seams are showing right now.
Yeah, they are. That's a good.
Seams are showing.
Mhm. Do you feel like with these seams that are showing, do you feel like how do we get past seeing the seams and discerning who well, I think one thing that you just told us is that you have created a boundary within which you are playing. You're playing within a boundary. You are building trust, but within a protected boundary, which is to say, you're not trying to go to the outer reaches to the people who are doing violence, certainly against you, or even to the silent ones, to
Right.
people who are silently complicit because of their silence. You're not trying to win them over.
No.
You've actually said, these are going to be people that I can, at least on a baseline, expect that there's some level of commonness, common cause, maybe,
Yeah.
that creates a baseline of trust that we can build on.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things we need to be very clear on is people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are extremely lonely right now.
Mm.
And one of the reasons why we need trust is because our psychic state is damaged. Not damaged, but it's hurt. It's bruised. And we desperately need to foster an ethics of togetherness, which requires trust. And when we practice an ethics of togetherness, I think we'll begin to see a rehabilitation, a renaissance of trust. But that is going to take time. And I think right now things feel so urgent that we don't know how to slow down, but I'm telling you, if you can just slow down and take a breath, feel your feet on the ground, begin to stand still long enough to feel what needs to be felt.
Good. It's good. And this is a good season to do that.
Yeah.
It's a slow down kind of season. Wow. Thank you for that. Next time you come, and you're going to come back, I'm sure, but I want to talk about the why. Why
Oh, yeah.
30s, 40s, and 50-year-olds so lonely? Where's that loneliness coming from? We'll talk about that next time. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Are there any other questions or thoughts? All right. So Joe Cash says, thank you. We love them and our kids love them, but they don't get to be part of the inner circle.
Right.
Fortunately, we are having trouble forming an inner circle. I hear you, Joe. I hear that. But I am trying to lead my family in the hard work.
Yeah.
So keep doing that, Joe. Keep doing that.
Poco a poco. As a trans Latino who believes that threshold space, as a mixed race Latino, threshold space, this in between space, Nepatla, that's where the richness happens. And so continue leading your family in the hard work. It's an everyday process. I have not arrived just because I have a PhD and an ordained, and what that doesn't mean anything. I'm still very human. I still shit and fuck like everybody else. And, and I'm unraveling from violence in real time.
Mm, wow. Thank you so much, Roberto Che Espinoza. You have really been a gift to us in this season, and this call to slow down, I'm literally going to take it. I'm taking it very seriously and going to call together, at least at this point, some family and some friends to come and just sit and let's just connect.
Yes.
And I don't have to be the perfect hostess. It's
No.
just bring people into the space and let's connect.
Yep.
Wow, I like that. There's something very freeing about that. So, what is your word as we are exiting the space as a result of being together?
Hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say,
Yeah,
oh, go on.
I feel it.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. I'd say that's somebody just rang the doorbell. It's my sign that we got to go. But my word is also hope. God bless you guys. We'll see you. Okay. Next.